The Las Vegas Raiders did not rebuild quietly. They did not patch holes and cross their fingers. They looked at everything they were and made a decision to become something else entirely. And the NFL is paying attention whether it wants to or not. A new head coach with a system turning average receivers into weapons. A veteran quarterback who has made careers out of the players around him. A number 1 overall pick, locked in and ready to reshape the next decade of silver and black football. This is not a team chasing respectability anymore. This is a team with a new identity, a new direction, and a front office, finally building with intention. What separates this offseason from every Raiders offseason in recent memory is not one move. It is the logic connecting all of them. The defensive line already had the best edge rusher in football in Max Crosby, and now the linebacker core has real depth and real structure surrounding him. The wide receiver room holds a piece in Trey Tucker the rest of the league is sleeping on. The tight end group is one of the most complete in the AFC West. The offensive line got upgraded at center in a way changing the protection picture entirely. Every piece connects to the next. This is not luck. This is a front office with a clear picture of what it is building, and the patience to build it the right way. At the center of all of it sits a quarterback situation the entire league is watching. Fernando Mendoza is coming. The Raiders hold the number 1 overall pick, and every signing, every scheme decision, every depth addition from this offseason points directly at him. But before Mendoza takes his first regular season snap, there is a veteran in the building setting the standard for what this offense demands. What Kirk Cousins brings to Las Vegas is something the numbers alone do not explain, and understanding it changes how you see this entire roster. But before we get into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Raiders and all the NFL content. Let's aim for 500 likes on this video. When the Raiders signing of Kirk Cousins dropped, 85% of Raider Nation approved it in a community poll. That number is not small. That is a fan base that watched years of quarterback uncertainty and recognized immediately that this move was different. But the conversation around Cousins almost always circles back to doubt. And that doubt is missing the actual point of why he is exactly what Las Vegas needed at this exact moment in time. Rich Gannon, a man who knows what it takes to win in this league at the quarterback position, said it plainly. Cousins walks in on day 1 and competes. He does not worry about the draft, the depth chart, or what the future looks like. His job is to prepare and to push everyone in that room to a higher standard. And Gannon added something important on top of that. In the spring and summer, the rookie gets the reps. Cousins does not need 500 practice throws in May to be ready. He has been in this league long enough to know how to stay sharp without burning syrup through a young quarterback's development window. That structure is not accidental. It is a coaching staff and front office in full agreement on how this transition should work. What people keep overlooking is what Cousins did late last season in Atlanta. He stepped into that offense after Michael Penix Jr. was benched and the Falcons were significantly better with him under center. A year removed from a torn ACL, running a system on short notice, and he still made that offense function at a higher level. That is the version of Kirk Cousins coming to Las Vegas. $20 million guaranteed. Does not go to a clipboard holder. It goes to a quarterback the organization fully believes gives this team its best chance to win while the future gets ready. And the future in Las Vegas has a name everyone in the NFL already knows. There are quarterbacks selected number 1 overall who arrive with pressure so heavy the entire franchise buckles under it. And then there are situations where the organization builds the room, builds the roster, and builds the culture before the rookie ever takes a meaningful snap. What the Raiders have constructed around Fernando Mendoza is the second version of that story, and it is rare enough that it deserves to be stated clearly. The number 1 overall pick is not just about the player. It signals to the entire league what direction a franchise is pointed. John Spytek at the NFL Combine and Clint Kubiak at the owners' meetings both made it explicit. Las Vegas is looking for that true outside receiver, a player who can give their quarterback a genuine number one target. Every move around that statement points back to Mendoza. The offensive line upgrade at center protects him. The veteran quarterback in the room teaches him. The receiver additions give him weapons. Nothing about this roster was built in isolation. Every decision was made with the future quarterback in mind. What makes this situation genuinely exciting for Mendoza is the breathing room. He watches Cousins operate a real NFL offense from inside the building. He sees how a veteran prepares, communicates, and handles a full regular season schedule. That education does not exist on a whiteboard. It only happens by being present in a functional, well-coached environment. The Raiders are not asking Mendoza to save a broken team in week 1. They are asking him to absorb, develop, and arrive ready when his moment comes. That patience from a front office is one of the rarest things a rookie quarterback ever receives. Now the question shifts to what the offense around him is actually going to look like. And one name keeps coming up that the league is seriously underrating. Klint Kubiak has a pattern. Every stop he has made as a coordinator or head coach, wide receivers have outperformed their expectations inside his system. That is not a coincidence. That is a scheme built to create leverage, generate space, and put the ball in playmakers' hands in situations where they win. What that pattern means for Trey Tucker in Las Vegas right now is something the national conversation has not caught up to yet. Tucker started all 17 games last season. He saw 92 targets, turned 57 of them into catches, finished just under 700 yards, and scored 5 touchdowns. His career numbers show 123 catches, over 1,500 yards, and 10 touchdowns. He is on the field constantly because he is reliable, tough, and willing to do work that does not always show up in highlight reels. At 5'8", he is getting into the teeth of coverages and blocking safeties on the perimeter. Kubiak mentioned him early in press settings, then brought him up again without being prompted. When a head coach volunteers a player's name twice without being asked, that player is someone the scheme is being built around in specific ways. Pair that usage with Kirk Cousins at quarterback, and the combination becomes something worth paying real attention to. Cousins has a career-long reputation for elevating the wide receivers around him. He identifies mismatches quickly, delivers accurately to the short and intermediate routes, and trusts his slot weapons in clutch situations. Trey Tucker, operating out of the slot in a Kubiak system with Cousins reading the defense, is a chess match that defenses in the AFC West are going to struggle to prepare for weekly. The offensive room has more going on than most people are giving it credit for. And while the offense is getting its pieces in place, the other side of the ball went through a transformation just as significant. Max Crosby is one of the best defensive players in football. That sentence does not need a qualifier, but for stretches of recent Raiders history, he has been asked to carry defensive weight that no single player should carry alone. That dynamic changed this offseason in a way that shifts how opposing offenses have to prepare for Las Vegas entirely. The linebacker signing of Quay Walker and Nakobe Dean together is not just a depth move, it is a scheme solution. Walker is a physical specimen at the position, an elite athlete with the raw tools to make plays all over the field. The coverage lapses that have followed him in Green Bay were real, but they were also tied to the mental load of processing the defense and making calls simultaneously. Dean, his former teammate at Georgia, arrives in Las Vegas as the green dot, the player wearing the communication helmet and directing traffic. That one shift removes the mental burden that was limiting Walker and allows him to play faster and more aggressively than he ever has in the NFL. Think about what that does for Max Crosby. Offenses have been scheming their protection around him for years because he was the one non-negotiable problem they had to solve. Now Walker is a genuine threat in space, and Dean is keeping the defense aligned and assignment sound behind him. You cannot double Crosby and also account for a linebacker core that no longer has a predictable weak link. The defensive front in Las Vegas just became a genuine problem for for every offense on the schedule. But defense is only half of what makes a contender, and some of the quietest moves of this entire offseason happened in places most fans never look. There's a version of team building that chases names. Big free agent additions, blockbuster trades, moves that trend on social media for 48 hours. Chew. And then there is the version that actually builds teams. The Raiders executed both this offseason, but it is the second version that separates a good offseason from a great one. Ian Thomas is back. 8 years in the NFL, joined Las Vegas last season, and was brought back on a new deal. He does not get the spotlight because the Raiders already have one of the best tight ends in football ahead of him on the depth chart, but that is exactly the point. Thomas fills in when needed, contributes on special teams, and gives the offense a functional second option at a position where most teams scramble once their starter misses time. Kubiak himself said, retaining their own pending free agents was arguably just as important as the notable additions from outside the organization. Ian Thomas coming back is that statement in action. The offensive line upgrade at center is another move that does not generate a highlight, but changes everything about how this offense operates at the line of scrimmage. Protection schemes, run blocking communication, and snap security all run through the center position. When you fix it, the entire unit functions better. The quarterback feels cleaner pockets, and the run game finds lanes it could not find before. Every one of these moves serves Mendoza's long-term development as much as it serves the team's immediate goals. The front office is thinking in two timelines at once, and that kind of organizational discipline is what turns a promising roster into something the rest of the conference genuinely fears. And with the NFL draft weeks away, the Raiders are positioned to add even more. Arik and the trade scenarios already circulating are fascinating. Reports from around the league indicate the 2026 NFL draft is shaping up to be one of the most trade-heavy in recent memory. Defensive depth at edge, cornerback, and linebacker is strong enough that teams are expected to move aggressively in round one. Las Vegas sits with 10 total picks across all 3 days, and John Spytek already proved last season he is not afraid to move up and down the board to extract maximum value. The wide receiver position is the most compelling area to watch. Denzel Boston at 6'4", 209 pounds, recorded 20 touchdowns over the past 2 seasons, and fits the outside receiver profile Kubiak and Spytek described specifically at the Combine and the owners' meetings. The Raiders held a top 30 visit with him. There's real smoke around that connection. Jeremy Bernard brings 5 years of Alabama experience, inside-outside versatility, strong hands, and yards after contact ability that drew comparisons to CeeDee Lamb in terms of acceleration and playmaking after the catch. Las Vegas met with him at the Combine as well. Zachariah Branch ran a 4.35 40, has a top 30 visit on record with the Raiders, and his great uncle is Cliff Branch, a Hall of Fame Raiders wide receiver. The family connection runs deep, and Kubiak has stated he values players from football families. On day 3, the safety position becomes a pressing need. Kubiak said it directly at the owners' meetings. Safety is a position the organization needs to address. Names like Bud Clark, Kamari Ramsey, and Genesis Smith have all drawn genuine interest. Ace Spytek moved up on day 2 last season twice to secure starters. With 7 picks on day 3 alone, the Raiders have enough capital to be creative, move into the early 100s if needed, and still come out of the draft with a full and functional roster. That flexibility is not an accident. It is what a well-managed offseason produces. And when you combine that with what this coaching staff and front office have built in terms of culture, the full picture finally comes into focus. Championships are not built in one offseason, but belief is. And what the Las Vegas Raiders have created this offseason is something that has been missing from this franchise for a long time. Not just talent, not just additions. Belief that the organization knows exactly where it's going and has the discipline to get there without cutting corners. Clint Kubiak is 39 years old and the national perception still underestimates him. He went to New Orleans, watched that opportunity fall apart through no fault of his own when an injury ended everything in the first month. He went to Seattle, and the entire offense transformed. He arrives in Las Vegas with a roster that fits what he coaches, a quarterback who has been in his system before, and a rookie at the most important position on the field, who was specifically recruited by this organization through every decision made since the final whistle of last season. Kirk Cousins is not the type of player who embarrasses an organization. He is the type of player who stabilizes one. That matters more than people admit when a franchise is trying to build something that lasts. Look at what Seattle did the offseason before their Super Bowl run. They moved away from their franchise receiver. They brought in a new quarterback. They added smart, overlooked pieces in the draft and through free agency. They did not make one giant move. They made 20 connected ones. The Raiders followed that same blueprint in 2026, and the results of that blueprint will not be fully visible until September. But the foundation is there. The quarterback room is set. The defense has structure. The draft capital is loaded. Raider Nation has spent years waiting for a moment that actually feels different. This is that moment. And when Fernando Mendoza walks up to that podium on draft night and puts on that silver and black hat, everything this offseason was building toward will finally have a face.